G'day guys, how you going? So, when I first saw the camper van my cousin Bradley built, I was struck with a sense of awe. I thought that designing and building your own home on wheels that you can take wherever you want is a show of independence and self-sufficiency. He took it on travels across America, experiencing the freedom and adventure that comes with life on the road. The idea of doing something like that and then taking it on my own adventures seemed exciting. For my Class 12 project, I knew I wanted to create a van that would be beautiful, modern, and impressive, and something that'd make people say, wow. I imagined myself driving through the Australian landscape, experiencing what our rich lands had to offer, like the Great Ocean Road and the beautiful beaches on the East Coast. In line with my inspiration, my project was all about independence and self-sufficiency. I envisioned building a camper van entirely on my own, mastering all the skills required without any help. I wanted to show what I was capable of doing without anyone else's help. So, the goal was to create something that embodied self-reliance from the design and construction to the final touches. I developed the goal further for this project to imbue the Scandinavian design principles to create a design that would be aesthetically pleasing. The van would look modern, purposeful, professional, and hopefully quite luxurious. I wanted to finish the project with a product that I'd be proud of and something that I'd enjoy working on. I knew it was a big challenge, but I wanted to push myself to create something that was hopefully remarkable. When the time came to narrow down my project, I formulated a question to direct my research. How can Scandinavian design be integrated into a camper van conversion to create a functional, aesthetic, and welcoming product? It was always nice to dream big, and that's what I was doing when I planned this project. I think reality hit in term 2 when I realized just how far I had to go with the van. Not long after starting, I encountered challenges that I could not overcome alone, like struggling with certain technical skills and dealing with injuries that required me to ask for help. This shifted my perspective. It became less about doing everything myself and more about enduring through difficulty, learning to adapt, and leaning on others when needed. The project showed me the strength it takes to push through obstacles and keep moving forward, even when things don't go according to plan. Before I go any deeper, let me first talk you through my year. Before I bought the van, I spent countless hours doing research into vans and conversions to ensure I bought the best one for my needs. I spent lots of time on Facebook Marketplace and car sales looking for a van that would suit. This was a bit mind-numbing, but it was a very important stage of the project as I needed to choose a van that would be reliable and have low kilometres. I wanted a van that was tall enough for me to stand in and fit the essentials when travelling. This would include a shower, kitchen, dining and sleeping area. When I finally bought the van, I remember driving it home with a mixed feeling of nerves and excitement. The van I bought was a 2004 Mercedes Sprinter and is one of the biggest ones on the market. I was very nervous driving on the road for the first time, and it felt like a huge step, and the scale of the project began to sink in. I simultaneously dove into research about Scandinavian design and how to convert a camper van. I read lots of articles when I was learning about Scandinavian design and kept all the important information in a Word doc for later reference. When it came to learning how to convert a van, I found the best way was to learn visually through other people on YouTube videos. In this way, I could better visualize the steps required for the conversion. Before starting the hands-on work, I assessed the risks that this project would entail and mitigated them by wearing safety glasses and safety boots. I already had a thorough understanding of how to use tools safely after years of design tech and work at home. You might be wondering why I chose Scandinavian design for the van. Well, here are a few reasons. I've found this style to be clean, calming, and beautiful, and from seeing IKEA designs and home interiors, I developed a like for this style. I felt like it would be a perfect fit for the van because of its focus on functionality and minimalism, which would help to create a clean and uncluttered space within the van. This is what I uncovered through my research along the way. After World War II, Scandinavian design gained global popularity, especially in the 1950s. Its focus on social democracy and well-being made everyday products both accessible and affordable, giving rise to the modern Scandinavian style. Today, the style's timeless aesthetic remains appealing, blending functionality, sustainability, and practicality, perfect for the modern living. Key principles include minimalism, functionality, and a connection to nature. Scandinavian design embraces the philosophy of less is more, with clean lines and uncluttered spaces. This minimalism promotes a sense of calm and order, which is particularly beneficial in small spaces like van conversions. Functionality is equally important. Every piece serves a practical purpose with multi-purpose furniture like fold-out beds and table solutions that optimize space. It also has an emphasis on natural light, using large windows, mirrors, and light-colored interiors to brighten spaces, inspired by Scandinavia's long, dark winters. While this focus is crucial in Northern Europe, adapting it for Australia's bright and sunny climate involves balancing light and heat. This might mean using smaller, strategically placed windows or adding skylights in a van to maintain comfort. Design has a significant influence on our mental well-being. Minimalism reduces stress by avoiding clutter and creating a peaceful environment. Natural materials like wood enhance a connection to nature, which can help to reduce anxiety and improve overall mental health. In a van conversion, this can turn a small space into a soothing, nature-inspired home. This was one of the main reasons I chose Scandinavian design, because I could prove it would create a peaceful environment in any space, making it more inviting and relaxing. With all this knowledge I gained, I designed a model of the van in VanSpace, which is a tool for campervan designs. I used the principles of minimalism, functionality, and aesthetic appeal to create a design that would embody these ideas. It took multiple iterations for me to have a final design I was happy with. Each design was better than the last as I got an understanding of how the van would feel inside, and I could make adjustments and changes to the design. In this way, I was able to make a design that maximized space without feeling cluttered or enclosed. I was determined to do things right and managed to avoid any big mistakes at the start. But once I stripped the van back to its empty shell, a new wave of nervousness hit me. I started to overthink where to start. The first major decision was building a bulkhead, a divider between the front seats and the living space. It seemed like a good idea at first, but once it was up, I realized it made the space feel too closed in. I left it till most of the van was done before deciding it wasn't quite right and removing it. This was part of the process, as it allowed me to get the project in motion, and removing it later was a small price to pay for the momentum it gave me. This sort of planning and decision making I mostly did in my head when I started working on the van. I did not enjoy discussing ideas or plans with others because I was often unsure of myself or didn't want any negative feedback. But as I continued working on the van, I asked for different opinions and feedback and found that it was helpful to have different views on matters of design and building processes. Then came the day when everything changed for the worse. It was late on a Saturday night and I was working on the sliding table after work. It was almost dark outside and I was listening to some music on my headphones. I was cutting a piece of wood, following the standard safety procedures I had, when a saw caught unexpectedly and pulled the wood. And I looked down to see my thumb hanging in the wrong direction. I felt a huge rush of adrenaline as I saw the injury, and the sounds of the saw and the surrounding environment got louder. I didn't feel the pain, and just a shock that made me yell out in surprise and fear. I was in complete disbelief and hoped that I was dreaming. I'd never faced anything this serious before. My mind raced with the thoughts of all the things I wouldn't be able to do. Mum was calm though, and as she drove me to the hospital, her presence helped calm my panicked thoughts. Big thanks, you're my saviour. I had to stay overnight before surgery, and lying there in the hospital bed, felt very angry with myself for letting this happen. I wish I could turn back time and undo it all. All right, this next bit's a little descriptive, so if you don't like the stuff, tune out. The table saw had left 10% of my thumb attached to my hand and cut along my palm, and then taken a large amount of skin off my pinky, which had required a skin graft. The surgery that was expected to take 2 hours took 7, as there was lots of damage done. I now will not have any movement in the top joint of my thumb, but will luckily regain all feeling and movement in the rest of my hand. When I finally got home after surgery, I felt a little better. Knowing the extent of the injury answered a lot of my questions about what I could now do with my hand, and I realised just how lucky I was to still have my thumb. The recovery process was rough. I felt weak, and the week spent stuck inside left me feeling sick and restless. Asking for help with even the smallest things was difficult for me. I hated feeling like I was bothering other people, even though they never made me feel like a burden. I'd been very sick after surgery from the antibiotics I was given, and I had a constant head and stomach ache. For a while there, the van project slipped my mind as I focused on getting better. This was a very rough period for me, as I did not have much independence and had little to brighten my days. But once I started to feel better, the urge to get back to work became impossible to ignore. I was tired of sitting inside, glued to screens, and I needed the feeling of being productive again. At first, asking for help felt like admitting defeat and giving up on my original ideas for this project about independence. That was when I heard a quote that stuck with me. "You are not defined by your mistakes, but rather by the resilience that is born from them." This was inspiring to me, as it made me realize that everyone makes mistakes, but you aren't remembered by them, but by how you overcame them. With this new perspective, I returned to the project with a renewed sense of purpose, ready to face the challenges and growth that bring. It started small, with things like needing Mum's help just to get dressed. I remember sitting on the edge of my bed, trying to maneuver my hand into a shirt, but with no luck. Mum stepped in with no hesitation, but each time I felt a little more frustrated, like I was losing the independence that had always been so important to me. As the days went on, I had to lean on Dad for more practical tasks of the project. One of those was assembling the sliding table I designed for the van. It was a piece that was supposed to give me extra workspace when I needed it. I had drawn up the plans myself and felt confident I could handle it before the injury. But when it came time to put it together, the weight of the materials and the precision required were more than I could manage with one hand. Dad stepped in, offering steady hands and experience to help glue and screw the table together. And I realised then that his help wasn't just about getting the job done, it was about sharing the process, something I might have missed out on if I'd insisted on doing it all myself. The biggest change of my independence came when I needed help with the welding. The fridge frame was a crucial part of the van's layout, and my injury meant I couldn't handle it alone. I'd seen my neighbour Barry working in his garage a few times, and I knew he had the skills, but walking over to his house with the materials in my arms, I felt a pit in my stomach. I didn't want to be a burden to him, and I imagined him seeing me as just another interruption to his day. But when I asked, his response surprised me. He greeted me with a smile and said he'd be happy to lend a hand. As we set up the welding equipment and got to work, I realised just how silly my earlier thoughts were. He took the time to show me a few welding tricks, and as we got talking, I learned lots about him and welding. It turned out he had a wealth of knowledge, and he was genuinely happy to share it with me. By the end of the second afternoon, as we packed up, he turned to me and said, "I really enjoyed working with you, Oscar." Those words stuck with me. For the first time, I realised that asking for help didn't make me a burden, but it strengthened my connection with people. It shifted my mindset from seeing myself as someone who failed to do everything alone to recognising that projects like this could be opportunities to connect with others, to learn and to grow. This was a surprising discovery from this project that I never saw coming. I have always wanted to become more independent, and especially when I'm working, because I can show the final product knowing it's a true representation on what I'm capable of. I now realise that working collaboratively is beneficial for everyone, and that you can achieve more together and have a more enjoyable time. With this major setback and challenge, I had to keep making progress as I wanted the van to be as complete as possible for the end of the project. I'd hurt myself at a bad time and still had lots of work to do, so once I'd recovered enough, I started working as much as I could. With the help of my family, thank you, as I got back into working, I was able to make some real progress. Term 3 went in a blur as I had this routine of school, gym, project and repeat. While this might seem boring, I quite enjoyed it as I could focus on the important tasks completely at hand and do them to the best of my ability. Some of my favourite moments were the final touches, like carpeting the doors. This was because it was one of the last steps and it gave the van a more finished look, a glimpse of what I'd imagined from the start. It was very enjoyable to see the last metal parts of the van be covered up as I finished the van off. One of the highlights was designing and building the overhead cabinets with my brother Carl. I crafted them outside the van and carefully installed them afterwards, which was a satisfying process that brought my ideas to life. The fronts for the cabinets I made with the help of Steve, who was a kitchen builder. He had all the right tools for cutting the melamine and then applying the plastic edge for them. This was another time where I saw that working together on something can make the process even more enjoyable and faster. Installing the flooring, ceiling and countertops was equally rewarding. Seeing each of these timber elements come together to make the van feel less metallic and more aesthetically pleasing was lots of fun. Each addition was another step towards my vision of a completed van that uses Scandinavian design in a space. As I progressed, I could see how this style brought beauty, functionality and warmth to the van, turning into something truly unique. If I've made this sound easy, let me talk you through a typical workday, which could be a full day on the weekend or a few hours after school, where I'd often work till dusk. I put in my headphones and everything else seemed to fade away as I became completely absorbed in the task at hand. I loved these moments as I felt the most productive and time would fly. It was almost like a 2x speed button for work, where all other problems would fade away and I could just enjoy what I was working on. In this way, I was able to do roughly 500 hours of hands-on work on the van. These days were definitely the most enjoyable part of the project as I got to see the van come together while having a blast. I believe that the van looks very beautiful and that I've done well to build it. It blends functionality with the minimalist Scandinavian design, offering a cozy and efficient space, perfect for life on the road. The interior features a light, natural wood finish that creates a warm and inviting atmosphere. The sleek cabinetry provides ample storage without sacrificing space, maintaining a clean and uncluttered look. The bed, positioned at the rear with windows on either side, invites natural light in during the day while offering a snug retreat at night. A compact kitchen area with a stainless steel sink and smooth wooden countertops ensures you have everything you need to prepare meals on the go. The timber ceiling adds a connection to nature, while integrated lighting along the cabinet creates a soft, ambient glow for a relaxing feeling after dark. I think that it is perfect for those seeking a stylish, compact living space that doesn't compromise on functionality or comfort. With just a few last touches and my vision will be complete. A stylish camper van ready to take me wherever I want to go. The thought of taking the van for a trip and enjoying the hard work I've done is exciting, and I can't wait for the road ahead. As I look back on this journey, I see more than a van built from wood, metal and hard work. I see a journey of growth, a shift from defining independence as doing it all alone to understanding the strength in leaning in others. This project has shown me that resilience is as much about pushing forward as it is about adapting, and that real freedom comes not just from the open road, but from knowing I have the skills, support and resilience to tackle whatever lies ahead. So, whether I'm exploring the world in my van or facing new challenges, I now know I can rely on my friends, my vision and myself. And to me, that's ultimate independence. Thank you.
That's good.